This is the Business English Certificate Vantage 2. Listening Test 1. Part 1. Questions 1 to 12. You will hear 3 telephone conversations or messages. Write 1 or 2 words or a number in the numbered spaces on the notes or forms below. After you have listened once, replay each recording. Conversation 1. Questions 1 to 4. Look at the form below. You will hear a man asking a colleague for information about a former employee. You have 15 seconds to read through the form. Now listen and fill in the spaces.
Personnel.
Hello, it's Tim here from Finance.
Hi, Tim.
I've had a letter from the tax office about a student who worked here last summer. I wonder if you could look him up in your records.
Sure. What's the name?
The surname's Jay, first name's Stephen.
How does he spell his surname?
Jaye. Got that?
Oh, yes, here we are. Lives at 183 School Road, Barnfield.
Yes, that's the one.
And you say he was working in finance?
Customer services, actually.
Ah, they had lots of students working for them last summer.
Well, the tax people want to know his exact job title. I'm not sure why.
Let me see. Oh, he was an office assistant.
Right, got that. They also want to know about his monthly earnings.
Let's have a look. £538.70 a month. Oh, sorry.
Conversation 2. Questions 5 to 8. Look at the note below. You will hear a man describing a problem with an order. You have 15 seconds to read through the note. Now listen and fill in the spaces.
Hello, Blackwell Printers. Julie Davidson speaking. How may I help you?
Hello, this is Mark Jones from Europe Holidays. I was hoping to speak to Stephen Kirby about the stationery you're printing for us.
I'm afraid Stephen's away until Friday.
Oh. You see, I'm not very happy with the business cards, and I wanted to see if I could make a couple of changes to the paper, too.
Would you like me to pass on a message?
Yes, please. The thing is, I've just received your proofs. The cards themselves are fine, but you seem to have misunderstood the quantities. I'm sure I asked for 500 for each of the marketing executives and 750 for me, but you put everyone down for 750.
Right, I've made a note of that. Is there anything else?
Yes, well, this is my mistake, really. Could you ask Stephen to move the company logo further to the left? It's too close to the address at the moment.
Conversation 3. Questions 9 to 12. Look at the notes below. You will hear a woman making the arrangements for a delegation who are going to visit her company. You have 15 seconds to read through the notes. Now listen and fill in the spaces.
Jeff,
Yes?
I just want to finalise the preparations for the delegation next week.
Certainly. It's Thursday, isn't it?
Yes. Now, can you make sure that each of them gets a name badge and an information pack? The badges are done, but you'll need to prepare the packs with all the relevant information.
OK, that shouldn't take too long. What about catering?
Coffee's organised for 11 and 3, but lunch, it's at 1. We need to reserve it for 12 people. The office restaurant is closed next week. Can you ring the Park Hotel? The Grand Hotel was a bit disappointing last time.
I'll get onto that.
Now, they'll be coming straight from the station, and their taxi will bring them to the front gate, so make sure you're there to greet them. That'll be about 10.
10. And then...
Into reception, I think. Make sure the new designs are on display. I want them to see those first.
OK.
Let me know when it's all finalised. Bye.
Part 2. Questions 13 to 22. Section 1. Questions 13 to 17. You will hear 5 short recordings. For each recording, decide which type of document the speaker is talking about. Write one letter, A to H, next to the number of the recording. Do not use any letter more than once. After you have listened once, replay the recordings. You have 15 seconds to read the list A to H. Now listen and decide which type of document each speaker is talking about.
Well, no wonder the banks returned it unpaid. Look, the figures don't match the amount in words. I expect someone was filling it in too much of a hurry. Well, let's see. We'd better issue another one straight away to pay Mrs. Burton, because it'll be another 3 weeks if we wait for the next cycle of payments. Her expenses on that sales trip were pretty high, and it wouldn't be fair to keep her waiting much longer.
14.
Some of the suppliers are already asking about the increases. I'll check, but I seem to remember from last week's meeting that in the end we agreed on 3%. So what I'll do is go down each column and calculate the new amounts, and then it can be printed in time to be inserted into the new brochures. Can you check the figures for me, though, before it goes to the printers?
15.
We've just received the paperwork from you about cleaning our premises, and I have to say that it doesn't reflect what we agreed in our conversation last week. For one thing, it says that we have to supply our security code, and for another, it specifies monthly payment in advance, and I told you both of those were out of the question. I'm afraid I really can't sign this. Could you send me a revised one?
16.
Of course, this only gives a very general picture, but as you can see, cash is a particularly healthy area. That's even when we take into account regular outgoings on loans and leasing equipment, which are included in the final totals. And even more significantly, unpaid orders are actually excluded from the final calculation. These represent a sum of approximately £30,000. With that in mind, we can say that the company's overall position is still strong.
17.
I've just asked the Arden Conference Center about availability for our next training seminar.
Section 2. Questions 18 to 22. You will hear another 5 recordings. For each recording, decide what the speaker's purpose is. Write one letter, A to H, next to the number of the recording. Do not use any letter more than once. After you have listened once, replay the recordings. You have 15 seconds to read the list A to H. Now listen and decide what each speaker's purpose is. 18.
Hello, this is Guy Cooper from Centron Electronics here. I believe you rang for some advice about your alarm system, which isn't functioning properly. The message I got said you weren't sure if you needed someone to come and sort it out, or if we could advise you over the phone. Well, perhaps you'd like to get back to me as soon as it's convenient and tell me exactly what the problem is, and I'll see what I can do.
"19.
Well, as you say, Redlon has been supplying us for years, but quite honestly, 2/3 of the complaints we receive about our products are actually due to faults in components we've had from Redlon. So I talked to the production manager and he agreed that I should look at some alternatives. Future World's range is fine for us, and one of their customers who I spoke to recommended them highly. So that's why we've changed to using them.
20.
The competition's getting tougher, and you know we're facing serious problems. We need to see more benefit from the undeniably hard work we're putting in, and this means saying no to jobs which aren't profitable. It would be much more beneficial to put all our efforts into winning higher margin contracts. So, the way I feel you can help most is by identifying the types of contacts which will bring in the income we need in order to ensure our future.
21.
John Woods here, phoning about the project we discussed earlier. Could you give me a ring so that we can talk about it a bit more? I've done a few calculations, and I'm beginning to wonder whether it's really a practical proposition. I still think the project's got potential, but there are significant additional costs which we hadn't taken into account. So, could you get back to me as soon as you can, please?
22.
Hello, Sally here from Pagwell Paints, returning your call. I'm very sorry you aren't happy with the latest consignment you've had from us. It's rather strange because following your complaint about the last delivery, we did in fact take out...
That is the end of part 2. Part 3. Questions 23 to 30. You will hear the chairman of a business institute making a speech about new business awards that his institute has sponsored. For each question, 23 to 30, mark one letter, A, B or C, for the correct answer. After you have listened once, replay the recording. You have 45 seconds to read through the questions. Now listen and mark A, B or C.
Who are the managers of the best innovation developments in British industry? That was the question which the first Business Today Innovation Awards set out to answer. This project is all about rewarding good practice and performance. So, rather than simply recognising excellence in the design of specific products or analysing their financial impact on profits, the awards set out to take an objective look at exactly how companies manage the development process itself. Over 350 organisations entered the competition and were initially reduced to about 40. Then, after further careful checking, a shortlist of just 14 of them was arrived at. These finalists, all manufacturers, were then visited by the competition judges, a panel of 4 chief executives from leading companies. The panel toured the finalists' facilities, received presentations on the companies and their projects, and interviewed the key development team members. The products varied enormously in their scale, function, and degree of technology, from bread for a supermarket chain to a printer inside an automatic cash dispenser. Initially, the organisers were concerned that this range could create difficulties in the assessment process, but this fear proved baseless, as most elements in the innovation process are shared by all manufacturers. Interestingly, the finalists broke down into two distinct and equal groups: large firms with 1,000 employees or more, and small firms with 250 employees or fewer. With both groups, the judges decided to concentrate on two of the clearest indicators of a successful innovation process, which are how well the new product is combined with the company's existing business, and secondly, how well the innovation methods are recorded and understood. Small firms naturally tend to do well in the first category, since they have fewer layers of management and thus much shorter communication lines. But they seem to put less emphasis on creating formal development methods, which would be repeatable in future innovations. Large firms, on the other hand, have difficulty integrating the new development within their existing business for reasons of scale, but they tend to succeed in achieving well-documented and repeatable development methods. This is because larger companies, with their clear emphasis on training, fixed management structure and administrative systems, require more formal daily record-keeping from their staff. So, what were the key questions the judges had in mind when assessing the finalists? One of the most important areas concerned how thoroughly a company checks what is happening in other fields in order to incorporate new ideas into the development process. Many of the finalists impressed in the area. Natura, for example, had demonstrated genuine energy in searching for new ways of producing their range of specialty breads. They had looked at styles of home cooking in different countries, as well as the possibility of exploiting new production technologies in order to achieve equally good results but on a high-volume production line. What then occupied much of the judges' thoughts was the quality of the links which the development team established with senior management, suppliers, the market and manufacturing. The best examples of the first category were found in small firms, where the individual entrepreneur at the top was clearly driving the innovation forward. Links with suppliers were also seen as an important factor, but not all supplier experiences were positive. Occasionally, serious problems had to be solved where suppliers were working hard to meet specifications, but the companies that the suppliers were using to adapt their machinery were not so efficient. This led to disappointing faults or fluctuations in quality. But in conclusion, the awards demonstrate that innovation isn't just for high-tech internet companies. You can also be successful in mature markets with determination and skill.